Hello again, everyone. Today we're going to talk about long division. Our goal by the end of this video, sorry for my dog whining in the background. Our goal for the end of this video is we should be able to fluently divide using long division with a minimum of 4 digits dividend and interpret the quotient and remainder in context. So one thing I want to really make sure we point out here is that we're talking about long division, and I know that your teacher, whoever that teacher is, has definitely emphasized this a few times. I know that many of you love the Super 7 or Hangman method, whatever you call it, but the 6th grade standard does say that we need to be able to use long division. And what that means is that when you're given a test, you're going to be asked to recognize the parts of a long division question. And it's not going to be in the Super 7 format. It's going to be long division. So you have to know how to do it, and you have to get comfortable with it. So as much as some of you might love Super 7, you're going to have to let it go because we do have to use long division. The other part of this standard is that we need to be able to interpret the quotient and remainder in context. In context means we need to be able to understand it in a real world problem. And so there's going to be word problems here. You're going to see a lot of them. You have to understand them, and you have to be able to identify what the quotient is in the problem and the remainder in the problem as well. Okay, so first things first, we need to make sure that we understand and know our vocabulary words before we can actually do long division. So if you don't know these words, then make sure that you study them. You make your flashcards, do what you need to do. You absolutely need to know these words. So go ahead and copy down these definitions. The dividend is the number that is being divided by another number in a division operation. So basically that means it's your first number in the division problem. Not necessarily in a word problem that comes first, but when you write out the long division, so for instance 6 divided by 3 equals 2. This number here, this is your dividend. The divisor is the number that divides another number in a division operation. So here, when we have 6 divided by 3, 3 is dividing the 6. So if this is 6 brownies being divided among 3 people, then we have the 6 is getting divided by the 3. In other words, 3 is dividing the 6. So 3 is the number that's doing the job, so it is called the divisor. And then your quotient is your answer. So in this case, that's 2. The remainder is anything that's left over if the number doesn't evenly divide another number. So for instance, let's say we had 7 brownies, then 7 brownies divided among 3 people would give each person 2 brownies, and then we'd have 1 left over. 1 would be your remainder. So really important to write down here. Make sure that you've written down my little example somewhere in your notes, maybe on the side over here, on the left if you need to. But you should have that dividend divided by divisor gives you your quotient. All right, so our standard asks us to make sure that we understand quotient and remainder in context. So we're going to talk about these vocabulary words in the context of a word problem. So it says, for this year's Thanksgiving dinner, you've been tasked with baking cookies. There are 12 people in your family. Okay, 12 people in our family, and we're baking 87 cookies. Identify the dividend, divisor, quotient, and remainder in the problem. All right, so we're taking these 87 cookies and we're splitting them up amongst our 12 people. So that means that 87 has to be our dividend because it's the number that's being divided up. 12 then is going to be our divisor because it's the number of groups that we're creating. And then our quotient is going to be our answer. All right. So really quick, we can solve this problem honestly without even doing long division. If we remember that 12 times 7 gives us 84. Make sure that you know your multiplication facts for 12. That's a hard one. It's a lot tougher to remember, but you definitely need to know them, and your life will be so much easier if you do. And we also know that 84 plus 3 gives us 87. So if we're splitting up our cookies amongst 12 people, then that means that we can give 7 people, or 7 cookies to each person, and that there's going to be 3 cookies left over. So our answer is 7 remainder 3, with this being our remainder. And to interpret it in context, remember, we need to be able to talk about what this means. And so for our answer, we're also going to write that this means that there are 7 cookies per person, and 3 left over. Now, of course, we all know that nobody throws away cookies. And so we're not just going to leave those 3 cookies. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll split those cookies into different pieces so that each person gets a part of a cookie in addition to their 7 cookies. And so what that usually looks like is that we have 7 cookies and then 3/12 of a cookie, which can also simplify to 7 1/4.